Welcome to Red Kingdom Sports, and let's get into our Week 14 predictions. Last week we went 10-4, and this week's buys are the Colts, Patriots, Dolphins, and the Eagles. So let's start with Thursday Night Football between the Steelers and the Vikings. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game. They won an ugly game against the Ravens last week. They do have one of the, if not the best defensive player in football in TJ Watt. He could honestly win Defensive Player of the Year with how well he has been playing. The defense as a whole, which really struggled a few weeks before that, really played good against the Ravens. The Vikings lost to the Lions. That was really awesome. I don't feel bad for the Vikings at all, and I feel really good for the Lions in that win. They had a terrible, god-awful defensive play call. Kirk Cousins in prime time is bad. Now you add on a head coach who everybody wants to see gone. That is not a good mix for the Vikings, and I'm going with the Steelers because they are in a dogfighted division where literally all four teams have a chance to win their division. The AFC North is absolutely crazy. Next, we have the Cowboys and the Washington football team. I'm going with the Cowboys, even though this game seriously might be a really, really close one. The Cowboys won against the Saints, but didn't necessarily look their best. Defensive-wise, they look good, but they were playing Taysom Hill. Washington, they've been playing great recently. I mean, their offense isn't flashy, but their defense is playing very, very well. They beat the Raiders last week, winning 4 in a row. They do now have a chance to make the playoffs. I think they control their own fortunes here. If they win out, they make the playoffs. I mean, they could make the NFC East close if they win this game. Like I said, their defense is playing better, but I still have the Cowboys winning against Washington. Next, we have the Jaguars and Titans. No one really cares about this game, even though the Titans are still obviously in the playoff hunt, even though their division may become close between the Colts and the Titans because of the injuries sustained by the Titans. But obviously, I'm going with the Titans over the Jaguars. The Jaguars stink. They got blown out by the Rams. I mean, the Titans got destroyed by the Patriots before their bye. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is necessarily playing the best. But that team is very, very injured. And so I got to go with the Titans, but that team is really injured. And I can't say don't count out the Jaguars because they did beat the Bills earlier this year. I just don't see any way that the Jaguars win this game. But I mean, for how injured the Titans are, with all the injuries, they just kind of look like a mediocre team. So I mean, anything can happen in the NFL, but I have the Titans winning this game. And they really need to win this game because their division, if they keep struggling and the Colts, get hot at the right time, that they could lose their division lead. Next, we have the Seahawks and the Texans. I'm going with the Seahawks in this game. The Seahawks look very solid against the 49ers. Russell Wilson looked much, much better. I don't think at this point in the season, though, they have really much to play for, except for getting their stuff together for next year, hopefully. Now, Jamal Adams is out for the rest of the season, which I think he's one of the most overrated players. When the media talks about him, they think of him as a playmaker. He's literally just a more athletic defensive end, basically. I don't think he's a very good safety at all. I think he's more of a rusher. That's about it. I think Jamal Adams is overrated, but he is having surgery. Hope that goes well for him. But like I said, I don't think the Seahawks will make the playoffs, but they're playing a Texans team who I absolutely don't understand their head coach. I don't like their head coach. He's releasing some of their best players. What the Texans do, what their head coach does, it makes absolutely no sense. I don't like their head coach. I think he's an a-hole, and maybe I'm missing something, but they're talking about how they have values and whatever in Houston. I'm just like, you're like a 2 or 3 win team right now. You're not a good football team. You should be trying to win football games. But whatever David Coley is doing, I don't know what he's doing. The Texans are bad. The Seahawks this might be the Seahawks' chance to just blow somebody out this year. Next, we have the Raiders and the Chiefs. I'm going with the Chiefs in this game. I really don't know what to make of the Raiders. I really don't. Now, the loss of all the players that they had earlier on this season didn't help. A lot of those guys were playmakers. Their head coach, obviously, losing them is not good. But like I said, they were off to a really great start this season. They lost to Washington. They did not look good in that game. They haven't looked good really much of late. They're a 500 football team right now, which is literally what they have been the last few years, it feels like. They start off hot and then they just fall off. So I really don't know what to make of the Raiders. Maybe all the distractions, obviously the guy who's their interim head coach or head coach, whatever, he's not the guy. They're going to be looking for a head coach after this season, I'm sure. Because the Raiders, I don't want to say they're bad because they have a lot of talent. Now, Darren Waller, injured last week, did not help whatsoever. but I just think they have quite a bit of talent, especially their defensive line. I really like. Obviously, Derek Carr, I think, is a fairly solid quarterback. Now, this isn't me praising the Raiders because I want the Raiders to lose. Screw the Raiders. But I don't know what to make with them. The Chiefs, the defense is just it's been the best in football for like a month and a half now. Once that defense got right, it's been great. Like, and now everybody's mad that the Chiefs aren't putting enough points up on offense. It's just like, come on, people. When you have a defense that's balling out and not giving up any points, the most points you've given up, I think, in the last month is like 17 points, and you've won all the games. That's a great feeling, even though we want to see the offense finally click. Because the last time the Chiefs played the Raiders, they beat them 41-14. Now we want to see the same beat down again this week. But when you have a defense clicking like that, the offense, it's a pretty great feeling to know that the offense can struggle and the defense is going to step up, make the plays, and help the team win the game. Obviously, I'm going with the Chiefs in this game. I don't think the Raiders are very good right now. They're free falling off the face of this earth, and I don't know what to make of them. They should be much better than their record is. Next, we have the Saints and the Jets. I'm going with the Saints in this one. They looked god-awful against the Cowboys. Taysom Hill looked really bad. I know he had an injured finger, but some of those throws were just completely his fault. They look bad. The Saints, their defense, I like their defense. They really held the Cowboys in check most of the game. They really only gave up 20 points or so in that game, so it wasn't that bad. But Taysom Hill injury, he's obviously not a starting quarterback. He's just a gadget guy. That contract looks so bad for the Saints. I don't know why they gave that to him. The Jets are bad. They played okay in the first half against the Eagles. They scored, I think, on every drive in the first half or so, or close to it. But after that, they just got completely blown out, shut out in the second half. The Jets stink. And next, we have the Falcons and the Panthers. I surprisingly had more notes on this game than I really thought I would come up with. But yeah, basically, these teams are bad. Cordero Patterson, I think we've been saying it for a while now, especially when he was out for a couple games. He is the Falcons. He's so much fun to watch. He looked fairly good against the Bucs defense, which is really hard to run on. I don't like anything about the Falcons defense. It's really bad. Panthers-wise, not good. Cam Newton is not the answer to the Panthers. He's really not. I was one of those that were really excited to see Cam back. He wanted to be there, but he's not good. I don't know. He had one good season in the NFL, it feels like. The year that he made it to the Super Bowl, lost. Cam Newton's not the answer. They're going to be in for a quarterback. They fired Joe Brady, which I don't think is fair because, they had to coach Sam Darnold and Cam Newton, which Newton got benched last week. I don't think that's on the offensive coordinator for a quarterback playing poorly and getting benched against the Dolphins. But whatever. I'm going with the Falcons to win this game. I don't think either one of these teams are good, but the NFC is so top heavy that the 6-7 seed I think is going to be wide open the rest of the season, and who knows, the Falcons could sneak their way in with an 8-9 record. But I think both of these teams are bad. The Panthers, I do like their defense, but I think the Falcons win this game, and I don't know how many people are actually going to be paying attention to it. Next, we have the Ravens and the Browns. The last time these two played, which was like 2 weeks ago, that was a really weird scheduling break for the Browns. I don't want to say it's a break, but they got to play the Ravens bye and then the Ravens again. But they played. It was a disgusting game. 6 total turnovers. Browns' run game was completely shut down. Lamar Jackson threw 4 interceptions. I know Baker Mayfield is not 100% healthy, but that was just a really, really bad game when they played a few weeks ago. I'm picking the Ravens to win this, but the Ravens are a really injured team. Marlon Humphrey out now. That's going to hurt them. Like, their secondary, their defense has been really injured this year. I mean, the Ravens have so many injuries. It's going to suck for them. And I don't think either one of these teams are really that good right now. I really don't. I think the Browns are 500 right now. I think the Ravens are 8-4 right now. I think neither of these teams are that good right now. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he's really struggling, and people are. I was high on him to start this season when he had those comeback wins early on, but now I'm beginning to think that he's just a glorified running back. That's my opinion on Lamar Jackson right now. He's not been a very good elite quarterback like some of these people like to say he is. My eyes tell me a completely different story. He is struggling. He did not play that well against the Steelers, albeit that team was injured, but the defense held the Steelers to like 20 points. They're a 2-point conversion away from winning that game, but still, the defense only gave up 20 points when they were injured like that to the Steelers team that's not very good this year. You couldn't win that game. I gotta go with the Ravens, but this game is going to be probably just as ugly as the last one. Next, we have the Giants and Chargers. What is there to say about the Giants? They're terrible. They lost to the Dolphins last week. Jake Fromm, I think, is going to be their starting quarterback. I could be wrong. I think the Chargers look fairly good against the Bengals. Now, people get a misconception that I'm a fan of these teams. It's, well, I'm a Chiefs fan first, and then I'm a football fan second. I really am. Like, if the Chiefs aren't playing any of these teams, I will root for literally anybody. I will root for Derek Carr. I will root for the Broncos. I will root for the Chargers. I really will, because I love football. Now, if it comes crunch time late in the season, damn right I'm going to be rooting against all these teams. But football is great, and I can admit Justin Herbert, he's been inconsistent this year, but that Steelers game, he looked fantastic last week against the Bengals. Chargers as a whole, we thought they were going to choke that game out. They didn't. They were able to finish that game out. Their defense actually stepped up, which has really struggled. That was really nice to see. Herbert's looking really good. I like him. Like I said, they've been inconsistent, but I think they'll be all right. I think they'll sneak their way into the playoffs, and I got the Chargers beating the Giants. Next, we have the Lions and the Broncos. I was thinking about this before. I'm picking the Broncos to win this game, but I was thinking the Broncos' record, I think they're 6-6 right now, but their record, just like money, is inflated. And hear me out. The Broncos, early on in the season, beat, I believe, both New York teams and Jacksonville. Now, imagine if they were playing just mediocre level talent early on in this season. They could easily be a 3-win team right now. Now, I'm not taking away. The NFL, it's hard. They got their victories. But they started 4-0, I think. 3-0, 4-0. And they've fallen completely. So that's just something I was thinking about with the Broncos yesterday. And as I was making this, I was like, well, they have 3 wins over arguably the 3 worst teams in football. And their record looks a little bit inflated. Now, I'm not going to take wins away, but I'm just saying the Broncos are like that close. Now, they completely blew out the teams early out in the season, but I'm just saying, scheduling break-wise, they're so close to being a 3-win team right now, if it wasn't for the fact they played those 3 teams. But that's just my spiel. That's my Broncos hate that I was thinking about. I'm like, the Broncos really aren't that good of a football team. I really don't think they're good at all. I mean, the Lions aren't either. They got their first win last week. Jared Goff led that game-winning drive. He looked fairly good, I would say. I mean, we can't overreact to one game, but if we see potentials in guys, so I think Jared Goff could be the answer for the Lions. They need receiver help too. They need receivers. They need a defensive line. They need a few pieces, but I mean, we're talking about the Lions. They'll get good pieces and they'll still somehow mess it up. But back to the predictions here. Like I said, I have the Broncos, but the Broncos look really bad against the Chiefs. But they did have Javonte Williams. He's a strong dude. He can run the football. He can break tackles like crazy. That's what I think it's gonna come down to. I think he's gonna be too much for the Lions defense, and I think the Broncos win with him. Next, we have the 49ers Bengals. The 49ers were on a bit of a hot streak, but then they made a lot of mistakes against the Seahawks. Jimmy G made some bad throws, couldn't come out with the victory on that last drive of the game. The Bengals looked fairly bad against the Chargers. They had a stretch there where we thought they could get back in the game, but then they just blew it away with turnovers. Burrow, he looked fine with the injured pinky, but it definitely looked like he was struggling a bit with it. They did, like I said, they tried to make it close, but started turning the ball over. Joe Mixon couldn't run the ball. I don't know what to make either one of these teams because the 49ers went on a stretch there where they were winning quite a few games. The Bengals, they've been inconsistent. They look good one week like they did against the Steelers, and then they look bad the next week against the Chargers. But I think the Bengals will win this game. I think this game might be fairly close because these two teams seem like they're fairly evenly matched. Now, I think the Bengals do have a bit of a better defense than the 49ers, maybe just by a little bit. But I got the Bengals beating the 49ers. Next, we have the Bills and Buccaneers. Yeah, I'm picking the Buccaneers. The Bills are literally in a must-win game at this point. And if I'm a Bills fan, I'm sad. You still have to play the Patriots one more time after losing to them when they only threw the ball 3 times. But yeah, you have to play them one more time. Then you have to play Tom Brady, the guy that has owned you. He's won 32 games over you guys over his entire career. This is the Bills. They decided to play poorly at the worst possible time during the season. But yeah, the Bills, they're in a must-win situation. Their season's literally going to fall apart because they play Tom Brady and the Patriots. That is just the most Bills. The Bills aren't really known for anything like a joke or anything, but this is the most Bills way to go out is if they lose to Tom Brady and the Patriots for their season the division, they're fighting for a playoff spot right now. The division, I think the Patriots have that wrapped up. But yeah, I got the Buccaneers winning this game against the Bills. Tom Brady's looking like an NFL MVP. The Bucs are playing great right now. There's a gut feeling in me. They're just kind of in cruise control right now because they're not doing anything spectacular, but they're winning their games. They're winning them convincingly. Gronk looks good. Leonard Fournette looks good. Chris Godwin looked good. Mike Evans is looking all right. This team is clicking. I mean, their secondary is still a bit of a problem for me, but I don't think it's going to be much. The Bills cannot run the football anyways, so they're going to be so pass heavy, and I think the Buccaneers, scheme-wise, will be able to not shut down the Bills, but, make enough stops to allow Tom Brady to get the ball back and allow the Buccaneers to beat the Bills. The next game we have is the Bears-Packers. For some reason, they decided to flex last week's game, the Chiefs, into Sunday Night Football, but they still left the Bears in Sunday Night Football this week. Makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm going with the Packers. The Bears stink. Andy Dalton looked bad. Threw 4 interceptions last week against the Cardinals. The Packers are coming off a bye, dominating the Rams last week, in their last game. They will probably blow out the Bears on Sunday Night Football. Justin Fields is starting. I am sorry. He is in a really bad situation right now. I want him to succeed. That game against the Steelers, he looked fantastic, but the Bears stink. And I think the Packers, like Aaron Rodgers said earlier this year, he owns the Bears and he's going to own them on Sunday Night Football. And Bears fans are going to be really, really sad to have to sit there on Sunday nights and cry before they have to go to work on Mondays because their head coach stinks, their front office stinks, and the Bears stink. Like, there's nothing else to say about the Bears. They stink. I'm going with the Packers, obviously. And on Monday Night Football, we have a really, really good matchup between the Rams and the Cardinals. This game is going to be insane. I think it's either going to be... I feel like there's a chance for this game to be really high scoring. The Rams are in desperation mode right now. They're the 5 seed, I believe, in the NFC. They've not been playing well recently. They beat the Jaguars last week. Credit to where credit's due. I said the same thing about the Broncos. It's the NFL. It's hard to get a win, but at the same time, you lost 3 straight games to the Titans, Packers, and somebody else I can't remember off the top of my head. But they lost 3 straight going into that game. They're in it, like I said, they're in desperation mode. The Cardinals get a few more wins here. Oh, but real quick, since we're talking about the playoff picture, I think if the Packers win this game and the Vikings lose, they wrap up their division already in Week 14. That's a crazy thing. Now let's get back to the Rams-Cardinals. But yeah, this game I just think it's going to be insane. The Cardinals, the Cardinals are playing fantastic football this year. Kyler Murray looks great. That Cardinals defense is fantastic. Murray and D-Hop look really good after being out. The Rams need this win badly. They need it badly. Like, yeah, they won last week, but they need a win against a legit opponent, and they've been struggling against those guys recently. But this game is going to be absolutely fun. I think it's going to be insane. If you're a bettor, I would probably take the over. The Rams are going to come out firing. The Cardinals can score, it feels like, at will. And it's just going to be a fun, high-scoring Monday Night Football game between 2 division rivals who really, really need a victory. Rams need it more than the Cardinals, and the Cardinals want to solidify the fact that they're the best team in football this year. So this game, I think, is going to be insane. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think the Cardinals pull out the victory on Monday Night Football.